And so, last time that we got together here and talked over what had happened in Savage Worlds, Khan had died, as had Cognis, and our friend Blindside also blew himself the hell on up. And everything absolutely went to shit. Star City has been flung into martial law. People are now being forced to live under curfew, and all kinds of bad stuff is generally happening. So, the player who ran Blindside created a new character called Zephyr, who's an assassin. And I went through and I decided to go with a charisma character that I had kind of cooked up. He is heroic and he has a code of honor. He will not break his word. He also has a camaraderie of young women minions who do his bidding and are willing to fight for him. They are all armed with guns. And aside from that, he's also got two sidekicks, one of which is Ramona, who basically looks like the thief girl from Disgaea because she is a thief, and then I pretty much copied Becky from Nefarious and made her into his secretary. So, the way that he ended up getting introduced to the party was that after taking the terrible losses that they did and whatnot, it was determined that Scorpion needed to find contacts in the underworld, and because of the fact that both Scorpion and my character's minion, or I should say secretary, did some dealings in the black market, they had contact with each other, and basically my character was hired to be a face man for the group. And after that, they also went ahead and they found Zephyr, who I like his character background. Zephyr was he was a rich guy. He lived in old oil money. You know, there will be blood. And his character's family got killed during the Visori invasion, and as such, he pretty much went on a vengeful, roaring rampage of revenge and is now under our employ so as to help us in our objectives, whatever they may be. Now, my main character that I'm running, like I said, he's a charisma-based guy. His name is Vyers, which is pretty much directly from Disgaea, but it's not exactly the same because he's human and he's not a demonic overlord or anything like that. But that's what I kind of based the character on. He's a rich guy. He runs a, what would you call it? He runs like a cabaret slash a maid cafe kind of thing going on. And that's where many of his minions come from, because they are so enamored with him that they have decided to follow him to whatever lengths or quests he may have for them. Becky is basically a spoiled rich girl whom decided that she wanted to help out, but she was also quite talented and a little bit of a psionic type character. She has the ability to help do broadcasting over large ranges. She can send out messages. She can alter and manipulate those messages, and she can send them up to 1,000 miles in every direction. And then there is Ramona, his other sidekick, whom basically she was just like a pickpocket that decided to pick his pocket, but then she got caught and he decided he liked her and vice versa, so she also decided to join him and follow along with the group. So, all of that little bit of backstory out of the way, Dr. Destruction contacted us. He said, "You guys have really screwed things up for basically all of us. You've messed with my plans. Things are going terrible, but I have a mission for you that if you guys can pull this off, it'll at least get things back on schedule." So we were given a month to plan and figure out what we were going to do a couple of things. The couple of things that we were planning to do was, one, infiltrate a very heavily secure facility and find this device. It was not too heavy of a device, but it's some kind of space-age device. And our objective was to find that for Dr. Destroyer and get it the hell out as fast as possible. The other thing was that while we were going to be going in the back, up in the front, Dr. Destroyer himself was going to be attacking the main facility with just everything. Guns blazing, extreme force, just total chaos and mayhem was the plan. So, after we kind of mulled around for the month, my character had his sidekicks going ahead and investigating some information that had to do with something or other that Vizori was doing in some underground fighting or something like that. We didn't know exactly what, but we were looking into it, and, you know, Becky's a good investigator. Ramona accompanied her just in case she got into any trouble to make sure that things were taken care of and that she wasn't in any danger. After the month had passed, we didn't have a great plan. Oh, right. We did do some reconnaissance before we stormed the place. And that involved Warmonger, Vyers, Zephyr, Grigori, and 6 of my minions getting into the blimp, the Zeppelin that Warmonger had designed. And he had designed this blimp in such a way that we would go ahead and be able to shrink it down so it was super tiny. And we sort of approached the base, and we got way too close. We were spotted by a Vizori scientist who proceeded to mind blast us. And it kind of hurt the ship a little bit. And so, as it had rocked the ship, we started to float the hell away. They fired a cannon at us several times, but we were super tiny and hard to hit. And we escaped, quite thankfully, burning. This thing that we were in, it looked like a kite at first, but then it sort of transformed into a bird that was like burning as we fled the scene. So we got spotted, which was not necessarily too great of a thing, but we got some idea of the layout of the place. When the attack finally came, we were given a drop ship, which was able to deploy us all to the area, thankfully. Wonderful. And so when we had been deployed, we went through and we landed ourselves down just outside the back of the facility. When we went in, Zephyr went in up through the top of the front, and he started investigating some of the stuff. While he was investigating, he got an idea where the guys were and where they were fighting. And Mr. Smith had a brilliant idea. He transformed himself into a freaking ghost, becoming both invisible and intangible, so that he could spy out places for us, which was really awesome because he basically went ahead of the group, gave us an idea of where some of the different Finn groups were, gave us a good idea where different things were that we needed to look out for, but more importantly than that, he basically went well ahead of the rest of us and he found out where the fin were coming out of the ground through like a little elevator thing. He went and sunk through the ground while the rest of us were making our way into the building. We made our way into the building, and at first everybody was cramped up in this really tight space, because when you include my sidekicks, like, I alone basically have like 11 characters on the board, because there's my main character, my 2 sidekicks, and 8 minions. So we were crammed into a tiny little slot, and I was kind of worried about them throwing a grenade on us and just blowing us all way the hell up. And that would have been a total disaster. Fortunately, we managed not to have to deal with that. And as such, we went ahead and we made our way into the room. After we made our way into the room, there were 2 different groups of Finns, but they were both facing away from us because they were fighting the utter bullshit chaos that Dr. Destruction was raining upon their base from outside. He had not only let us in from behind, but he had brought in like 3 or 4 drop ships and his flagship, and they dropped in and they were letting dudes out. Dr. Destruction himself was murdering the hell out of people. Gunfire was happening. In the middle of this, my character, Byers, went through and he ordered Ramona, our thief, to go through and invisibly sneak up to one of the Finns and remove the pin from one of his grenades and get the hell out of the way. And so she did that, and that completely annihilated an entire group of guys that we were fighting. And we got this wise idea when we realized that Mr. Smith was where we wanted to be, but there was another wall in the way. We just basically told our good old friend Slayer, hey, you know what, you with the laser sword, this is like drywall and stuff, so just cut all that crap open. So he basically we carved our way straight on into the place. We all waited near the elevator as Mr. Smith went down, invisible and intangible as a ghost, and he floated over to the device that we needed, became tangible just long enough to grab onto it, and he just lifted it straight out through the ground. When he got the chance to, he told Dr. Destruction that he had it, and once he did, Dr. Destruction teleported to him, grabbed him, and hauled ass with him in the device. And as we were leaving, this dude came out of the ground who was just known as the Blacksmith. This guy is basically like Thor except fire, and we were already basically going to start evacuating because we had already accomplished the mission objective. And as we were evacuating, my character, being heroic and not realizing that this character was actually, well, I'll explain. The first thing he does after seeing the guy come out is, after someone else in the party recognized him as having been a former hero, he's like, hey, you know what? You're human. You're better than this. I know that they're probably controlling your mind or something like that, but you can be better. You can show the power, the true power of humanity, you know? And it completely didn't matter, even if my character would technically have been successful, because of the fact that he was actually sort of a zombie that had been brought back to life through the evil science of the Vizori. And so just as he discovered that, everyone was pretty much figuring, we're going to bail, we're going to run, we need to know what's going to happen. And then we were starting to run away, and that exactly is where the session ended. So next week we're going to find out what happens as we are running away.